Good afternoon. My name is Anthony Morrow. I'm the CEO of American Eagle Gold. I'm also the proud director of the YMP Toronto and the YMP Scholarship Fund. The YMP Scholarship Fund is near and dear to my heart, my group's heart. We started in 2018 with seed money from IAMGOLD, and we gave away scholarships to 3 very deserving students in Canada studying for a career in mining. We started with $12,000. Fast forward 3 years later, our total funding has now reached $120,000. We have many Canadian mining companies that are now part of this great scholarship fund. It's helping to encourage students not only to stay in mining, but to join mining, because it really is the best industry you can possibly be part of. With me today, I have none other than the CEO of IAMGOLD, Gord Stothart. Now, one thing that's stayed true this whole time is IAMGOLD is still a sponsor, and they're giving away $10,000 this year. $5,000 to a student from the Indigenous community and $5,000 to a woman in mining, both focused on Côté Gold, which is IAMGOLD's newest flagship project that's currently under construction in Gogama, Ontario, between Sudbury and Timmins. Gord's a great guy. He's very accomplished. He went to University of BC. He has a double major in mining and mineral processing. He worked for Noranda Falconbridge for over 20 years, and he worked as a COO of IAMGOLD for 10 years. And just in March 2020, he became the CEO. He was also just stopped becoming the chair of MAC Canada, and he's also the chair of the St. Elizabeth Foundation. He loves mining, but he gives a lot back to the community. I want to thank Gord very much for joining us. I also want to thank him very much for continuing to be a part of the YMP Scholarship Fund. It's because of IAMGOLD that we existed in the first place, and because of their backing, we are continuing to grow. Gord, thank you very much for joining. Thank you for being part of this. Looking forward to interviewing you.
Thanks for having me, Tony.
So Gord, you went to the University of BC. Why did you decide to take a double major?
I grew up out in British Columbia. I went to UBC. Originally, I went to UBC. I thought I would become a geneticist, and they had a very good genetics school there. And at the time I went to UBC, the engineering program, you couldn't actually enter into engineering directly out of high school. You had to do a year of general science. So I was doing a year of general science, thinking I was heading into biology. And as I was there, I realized the distinction between pure science and applied science. Applied science being engineering. I've always loved problem solving. I love applying different pieces of knowledge to figuring out how to do something. So engineering for my personality was a more natural fit. First year engineering after first year science at UBC at that point in time was another general year. It was general engineering. So you didn't actually have to elect a discipline within engineering in the first year. You couldn't. That happened in the second year, and then there was a 3-year program. So a total of 5 years. And as I looked at what the options were, I get bored easily. I know I get bored easily. So mining for me really held the broadest application. It's a very broad field. It touches on a lot of different engineering areas, and it also brings economics into the puzzle much more so than any of the other engineering disciplines. Certainly at least at the base level, which intrigued me. So I decided to go into mining engineering, and as I got into mining engineering, both mining and mineral processing were within the same department. And as I was going through mining, intending to be a miner, I realized, the other people you're going to be dealing with were going to be mineral processors, and better to know what they're doing and what they're thinking about. Plus, it again gave me greater optionality. So it was possible to do a dual major, working with the way the options were set up, optional courses were set up. So I went ahead and did that, and it's served me very well in my career to have sort of both of those disciplines in my back pocket.
Hi, Gord. You certainly made the right decision, seeing as you're the CEO of IAMGOLD. It's great to be an expert in both mining and mineral processing. Students always ask me about questions about summer jobs. There's lots of different opinions. I'm wondering what yours is. What the students ask is, when should they get a summer job specifically entailing to mining if that's something that they want to get into? Obviously, some people say, go out there, have fun, do what you want. You have a lot of time to be in your career in mining. Others say, right after second year, start getting that experience in mining. Where do you stand with that?
Great question, Tony. Early years, I was just looking for whatever job I could back in my hometown, worked in a cannery. But I ended up part of the summer, about the same time I was after, I think, first year engineering. I ended up getting a job with a diamond drilling company with Longyear up at an exploration camp in northern British Columbia as an expediter. I mean, I was just sort of the gopher for the drilling company. But I was up there. There were a number of summer students, geological engineers. There were geologists. There was the odd mining engineer came through, and I was a very collegial atmosphere, very interesting being in camp 7 days a week. 12-hour days were the short days, sometimes 20-hour days when you were moving drills. So that exposure to the industry for me was good. And then as I got into mining, and I guess when I was in school, it was relatively straightforward to get a job in mining, even as a student. I worked a couple summers at a coal mine, a small coal mine in southeastern British Columbia, which was interesting. And then I worked a summer at a much larger operation, one of the big Tumbler Ridge coal companies, Quintec Coal, which was an enormous company at the time. So, I think the earlier you can get a job, the better. I think even it's important to get jobs even at a low level. I mean, it's exposure. One thing I always preach to people coming up is get that exposure, understand what's actually going on out in the field, especially these days when a lot of engineering tends to be sitting behind a computer. You need to know what's going on in the real world. You need to understand what you're actually working on, and that what you're working on in the computer is a model. It's a representation of what actually is happening in the field, and you need to have that background on what's happening in the field. For me, it worked out well. I guess the other piece of advice I'd have is, if you have a choice, go to a smaller operation, because it gives you exposure again more broadly. You get to do more things. Sometimes it's not much fun stuff. I remember, one of my first jobs, I was the one who got to wash out the van every time the visitors from head office were coming to the mine. But that's part of the work, and you learn a lot. And in a smaller operation, you get to actually work very close to the people that are making decisions, which is important, of course.
So, Gord, IAMGOLD's on the 32nd floor at 401 Bay Street. It takes about 15 seconds to get to that top floor where you are. You are in the elevator with another student that's trying to determine whether they want to get into mining. You have 15 seconds. What is your pitch to join mining?
Look, mining gives you the greatest opportunity to grow and learn. It's one of the broadest fields out there. It's the best combination of business and technical there is out there. And it gives you incredible opportunities to travel the world, to see different things, to meet some very interesting people, and get outside of the bubble. If he's in the elevator in Toronto, or she's in the elevator in Toronto, perhaps they don't know a lot beyond the walls, beyond the borders of Toronto. It's a huge world out there. If you enjoy people and you enjoy travel and you enjoy working hard, mining is the place to be.
So, Gordon, I'm gonna start asking some fun questions. You've been around the world, which is one of the amazing things about being a miner. You get to travel the world. I know you've been to Japan a couple of times. Now, what I'm always interested in, I'm interested about the food. How is the sushi, and how do you compare it to sushi in BC, Vancouver, for example, where I know you lived for a while?
It's very good sushi. It's much, at least the places that we went to, I think, is a little higher art form than you see. It's fast food there as well, but not as fast foody as it is here. Outside of Japan, actually, the best sushi I had was when I lived in Santiago in Chile. They've got great access to fresh food. They've got a strong Asian population in Chile, and they just did a great job of it.
So, Gord, COVID's been a challenge for a lot of people, but one of the bright sides is people have picked up new hobbies. I know some people have picked up chess. They had that great chess show that was on. Some people have started to run. Have you picked up any fun hobbies?
I guess not so much a hobby as, I mean, I used to do it before when I could, but the being at home has provided me the opportunity to use the pool on a more regular basis. And so I've gotten into swimming laps whenever I can, almost on a daily basis, if at all possible, uh, which I find is really good. And it's not only obviously good for me from a health perspective, but it also provides a great opportunity to break away from the desk at the end of the day and clear your head and make that division between work and home. It's obviously easier to make a division between work and home when you're at an office and you're coming home, but when your work is at home, it's important because when you read some of the documentation and some of the stories out there, that's one of the challenges some people are having is creating that division, and it's important to do so.
So, Gord, in mining, you get to travel almost more than any other industry if you stick with it. You've been to many countries all over the world. If you had to pick any of them, where would you live if it wasn't Toronto or BC?
My wife and I would certainly, I think, certainly consider going back to Santiago. Santiago is a really nice city. It's got a lot going for it. It's got very nice climate. It's got nice scenery when it isn't fogged in, like in the summertime in the North American winters, the summer down there. So that that's a place we've always looked at. I think, though we haven't been there, I've talked to a number of people. Someplace like Costa Rica might be nice because of our time in South America, and we're relatively proficient with Spanish. I think that's might be where we'd gravitate to. That being said, love cooking. I wouldn't mind spending some time in Italy and exploring the southern part of Europe, which really haven't had the opportunity to do. But watched a number of cooking shows, and it's pretty exciting over there.
Certainly would like Italy. It's an amazing place. So there we have it. That's Gordon Stothart, the CEO of IAMGOLD, and a big supporter, him and the company, of the YMP Scholarship Fund. Told us a bit about his background, some interesting stories that he had, and also why he's so supportive of the youth and the YMP Scholarship Fund. I think everyone agrees mining is the very best industry. You get to see the world. You get to help the world. It's truly amazing. Gord, thank you very much. I look forward to speaking with you soon.